Welcome to CCM Live, everybody. How's it going? Hey, it is, what's the day? It's Wednesday, I think. Hey, I'm Marcus. I am your humble host. Happy to be here with you for another awesome week. And listen, you're here. It's great. I'm still in post-vacation recovery mode, so I'm really not responsible for any random awkwardness that comes out that's more than normal, okay? So you guys gotta, those of you watching, you gotta keep me in check. You got to. I'm following your comments. I'm watching. If I sound weird or something doesn't make sense, just use emojis, just the angry face or the thumbs up or all the above. Something else I'd love for you to do is hit the share button and invite other people. You can either just hit share to your page. You can hit share and scroll down and find individual names. You can tag them in comments. There's so many ways to do it, and we are always happy when you do. So let's get right to this. My guest today is lead singer of the rock band Fireflight, which was on the show not terribly long ago, but she's got a solo project of her own, worship album called Surrender. I'm so stoked to finally get to talk about this. We've got Dawn Michele here.
What? Yo,
What? It's awesome to see you again. And
totally, all the time.
Does it ever get weird? Like you're in this zone, you're taking pictures, like your promo photos, you're recording your own album. Is it weird without your bandmates?
Yeah, I think so. This last photo shoot was like the first one I really had like a real photo shoot, and the rest of the band wasn't there. I mean, we always have to do we always have to take some solo photos, and they're like, we're just going to take, and we're going to paste you all together,
Yeah.
But for the most part, everybody's standing around, and, you get to wait on other people to do their stuff, and you can kind of sit around for a while, but not this time. It was just constant, just climbing around in the desert. Just me sweating it out.
In the desert? Where did you go?
Yeah. Well, we were actually in New Mexico for the photo shoot.
All right.
And we were visiting, did a worship event out there at my old church that I used to work at, Sagebrush.
Cool.
Woohoo! And I was in New Mexico.
Awesome.
And a great buddy of mine who actually is plays most of the lead guitar at that church. And we went out after Saturday night services, climbing around in the desert and
awesome.
Doing photos. And it was so
awesome. Yeah, you hit that awesome twilight hour in your pictures and stuff.
Golden hour. Man, he's a great photographer. His name is Andy Carmona. And if you're in Albuquerque and you need some photos, call Andy Carmona,
All right, he'll get you out in the desert, sweating in the desert. I don't want to get ahead of myself, because something we have to do on the show is you have to pick something random around you in your immediate environment that tells us a little bit more about you, Dawn.
Okay, here's something random for you. It's going to be a little awkward for our camera angles here first. But this is the Lego construction I built to hold my phone during this broadcast. I built it,
wow.
about 2 minutes in preparation. Mm-hmm.
That's some serious Duplo skills.
The phone goes into this little, see where my nose is pointing towards? Right here. Okay.
Yeah.
That's where the phone slides, and it's open, through the middle so that you can hear me talking. And I built these with the blocks that truly belong to my 3-year-old son, Johnny.
You do it all. I mean, you should sell those. I think that
that makes sense, Marcus. That does. I think that's a really viable business plan.
I think it is too. I mean, everyone's got a side hustle.
I can sell them on the pledge fund.
Well, speaking of your pledge fund, which you're doing right now for your for the album Surrender, you're making stuff, right? You're crafting. What are you doing?
I know. I have all these really cool ideas that are probably going to result in me crying and crying. I'm trying to complete the pledge fund packages. I know that's where I'm going. At least I know that's where I'm headed. But yeah, everything is handmade. I'm hand painting the shirts. I hand cut the stencils from the design that I made with my buddy Phil Ernest, and with a hot knife cutting through the stencils. I'm going to have to recut the words, I know, because they're already getting kind of shabby. And I'm hand stenciling all the shirts, the jean jackets, the hoodies, all hand painted. I'm painting canvases, canvas clusters with lyrics on them and paintings in the background. I love to create. And this is just, for me, I thought a really cool way to connect personally, because like for instance, whoever gets the canvas, like they pick what song they want the lyrics to be, and then I'm going to use the song to motivate my painting, and then put the lyrics over
Wow.
it. So it was just an idea we had to connect personally with the people who are supporting personally, you know, to try to make this dream of mine come true, to get this worship album launched. And so a lot of it, it's going to be a lot of legwork on my part once all the orders come in. So,
Man,
but
yeah.
you know, I have a habit of, you know, just
Going
overshooting
all
it, and that's what I'm doing.
in.
Yes, I plan on overshooting it, and I'll probably
Awesome.
cry and be like, I'll never finish all of this, but I'll do it. That's what I do every time. I'll get it
Yep.
all done. I'll just be like, you know, having a nervous breakdown.
Yeah. Living that DIY life.
Yeah,
It's so
right.
good.
You know.
So
Mm-hmm.
tell me about this worship album. How long it's been in the works? How it came about? Yeah.
It's been in the works for quite some time. I first had this dream to create the worship album when I was working on staff in Albuquerque, New Mexico at Sagebrush, which is
Oh
this
wow.
amazing giant church out there that I never saw myself working at. Just because after being on the road for so long, like I used to kind of look at mega church. Well, I've been in and out of a lot of churches, and I
Yeah.
always said, God, please don't let anyone in my family ever work at a church. And if you work
Yeah.
at a church, you know what I'm talking about. Because, you know, like especially when I was growing up, I was in the church when I was in high school after I got saved. If the lights were on, I was there doing the things that needed to be done. I could never
Yeah.
say no. I was always doing too much. Overinvested. We talked about this just now.
Yeah.
And so, but when you're that involved in the church, you see what's really going on in the inner workings, and you kind of see when, you know, people are not acting right. And you're like, oh man, I wanted this place to be perfect, but it's not.
Yeah.
And then just traveling for so long in churches all over, you just kind of sometimes you see the ugly side of stuff, and you can kind of get
Sure.
burnt out. So
Yeah.
I was always nervous having seen the good, bad, and the ugly for so long. Like I didn't want to work at a church. I never ever wanted anyone in my family to work at a church, because even when the people are doing the right thing and working hard, there's always all this opposition all the
Yeah.
time.
Right.
So
Totally.
anyhow, but God just totally orchestrated things in my life. Fireflight was touring less, and we weren't doing as many shows. And even when you're a signed band, especially when you're a signed band, you know, your income comes from your legwork. It's from out there playing those shows, doing the stuff, because the label's taking a big piece of, you know, any other income you have,
Yeah.
because they own the albums and stuff like that. So anyhow, since we were doing less shows, you know, my income went way down, and I was like, God, what are we going to do? How do you want me to keep balancing it? We were living in Albuquerque, New Mexico, following my husband had got a cool, amazing job as a morning radio show host out there.
Yeah.
And
Awesome.
he was pursuing a new calling. And, but here we are, big airplane flights away. And I was always having to catch up with Fireflight to meet up
Yeah.
with them. It was always all these flights. So I have like a week out of the month, I was flying to Nashville to work on music and work on Fireflight stuff, yada, yada. And, you know, the flights weren't cheap. And I was like,
Yeah.
okay, God, you know, I need to know what you want me to do. We've got a baby now. So it's really hard to have like a flexible job where you can just take off and go climb on stage every, you know, once or
Right.
twice a
Oh,
month kind
yeah.
of thing. Because when you got a baby, you have to have like a career. And you
Yeah.
can't, they don't often let you just take off to go tour with your band.
Right.
So
Totally.
I didn't know what I was going to do. And I had gotten to know this amazing church in the area called Sagebrush. They had me come in. They're a really music focused church. The pastor just is in love with music. And he
Awesome.
always had a specialized song picked out to go with every sermon that he wrote. And he would have that song would be featured in the church service as well as the worship service and all that. And they actually had picked a Fireflight song. And so they found out that I was living in town, and they're like, let's see if we can get Dawn to come sing the special feature song.
Oh, nice.
So that was really strange for me. That was the first time I ever sang a Fireflight song without Fireflight. And we were calling it Fireflight karaoke, I guess, because they had like confidence monitors. And I was like, this is awesome. I want confidence monitors.
Yeah. Wow.
18 years later, I never thought of this.
It's awesome.
So anyhow, I had an amazing time just visiting with them, seeing their heart and all that. And then like a couple weeks later, me and my husband, we were helping lead worship at a small church down in the valley. And we weren't leading worship that Sunday, and we had a baby, and we just didn't get out the door in time. We were like, we're late. We're driving to church, and we're late, you know? And then we were driving by, because we had to go far away to get to that church. We were driving by Sagebrush. I was like, hey, we're not late to Sagebrush yet. Let's go there. And so we went to Sagebrush, and they were having their Remembrance Sunday, where they like highlighted everything they'd done in the past year. And I was really judgy about mega churches, because I felt like I'd been to a bunch of them where it just seemed like a big like country club, for Christians, and all the attention was going inward.
Yeah.
But I was blown away by everything that they were doing in the community. Like every third Saturday, they were having all the mechanics in the church come in, to all the setting up shop in the parking lots, and just servicing the cars of all the single moms and the elderly in the area. And they were stocking all the food pantries in the city, regardless of, who was running the food pantries or whatever. Yeah. They were just doing the thing. And I was like, dang, this mega church really seems like they got big because they're being super legit. And then a couple weeks later, they called and they said, hey, Dawn, what would you think about coming on staff? And I was like, oh my gosh. But what about, God, I told you my will was to never work at a church. Yeah. What's happening?
Yeah. I told you.
I told you, God, that this wasn't what you wanted for me.
Yeah.
Anyhow, like in talks with them, like the things that we've been praying specifically, God, you're going to have to figure out, like, how do you, I don't want to quit music ministry. Like, how are we going to work this out? How are we going to make ends meet? How are we going to balance all this? And because Matt was working in ministry as well through the radio. I don't know if you know anything about ministry, but you're not you're not rolling in it. So
that's right.
Anyways, but then like everything, they're like, you know what? We can be flexible. If you need to be gone with Fireflight, you can be gone with Fireflight. We use you for these amount of hours a week. We know you've got a kid. We're gonna be flexible that way. Everything they could offer me, even down to like to the amount that they could offer to pay me, was exactly what we told God. This is what we need to get by. What are we gonna do? And it was just like, oh,
yeah.
God wants me to work in a church. And so I went to work at the church, and I just continued to be blown away by Sagebrush. And it turned into this incredible experience for me, where I got to work with the female vocalists, and for the most part, just try to work with them and help them see who God created them to be, and help them to flow and the giftings that God had given them, instead of being like shackled by their fear, and help them build their confidence. And I think that singing is like 85% confidence and 15% talent. And you maybe have known people who only had 15% worth of talent, but they had all that other confidence and they made it work.
Yeah.
But totally. You could have all the talent in the world and no confidence, and you can't do it. But everybody struggles with their confidence. So
absolutely, yeah,
it's a big battle. So that became a really special part of my journey. And then on top of that, I got to.
Well, I'm sure it grew you as a worshiper.
Yeah,
doing that week in and week out.
Yeah, and then being up there week in and week out on stage, helping facilitate worship with a church, I was kind of blindsided because, Fireflight, I feel like what we do is a form of worship. I truly do. Yeah. But obviously, there's some really special and unique facets to praise and worship music itself as a whole, and the way it's focused, and the themes and everything are just totally dialed into the truth of God, and just in communication with God and connecting with God directly every second. But like at a rock show, everybody shows up like ready. Like they're like, yeah, we're here. We're going to connect with the crowd. We're going to connect with God, with this band. We're ready. That's why we came. Yeah. But Sunday morning, that ain't how people are. They are not. They're like, it's been a terrible week. Right. I better get some Christian points for showing up to church,
Where's my coffee?
Yeah. You're lucky it didn't rain, And people are just, they're distracted. They're bogged down. They're carrying all these heavy burdens. And they show up. And, it just really broke my heart, just feeling like, it seemed like a lot of people were having a hard time connecting in worship. Like they weren't able to get there. They were either kind of and I'm not trying to judge people by the way they look, like when they're worshiping, but like they're like looking at their phones, or obviously just waiting for the music to be over. And so I was like, oh man, that just really broke my heart, because I know for me how much God has been able to work in my mind, in my heart, in my life, in my body, through the times that I connect with him in worship, because in those moments, finally the things I'm thinking and the things I'm saying and the things I'm doing are all lining up with his truth.
Yeah.
And I'm out of the way, and he can really work and do miracles inside me and around me. And I know if I'm not missing out on that, my life is so dim, my light is getting, duller and duller. And no wonder in our lives where we tend to put connecting with God like last on the list, no wonder we're so unfulfilled and we feel so dull and empty when the best parts of life we're not showing up.
Right.
So it really made me want to, it just awoke a passion in me to try to help create music that would help people connect with God, and to celebrate his glory, that's going to help them by the truth. I mean, the truth sets us free, right? So to help them connect with the truth and experience this rejuvenation and this power of connecting with God in a way that they haven't yet.
So with this record, how did you go about going, okay, I know, like, there's a certain sound, there's a certain expectation, there's a certain pattern when it comes to what people think of when they say worship. How did you go about, what were some things you said, I absolutely want this to be like this? Like, what did you say you wanted it to be like when you made this record?
Well, it's kind of a weird tightrope that you walk when you're writing worship music, because like on one hand you're like, okay, these are my goals, and then the other hand you're like, oh, it's worship music, it's not about my goals.
Yeah.
Like how do you like meet in the middle there on that one? Because obviously I wanted to help people connect with God, but at the same time the most important part is that we are glorifying God.
Right.
And I think it all starts and ends with prayer and reaching out to God and your intention. I believe that God knows what our heart is when we are approaching a project, when we are, trying to glorify him, especially, he knows where we're trying to go. And I feel like the good things that we do are all inspired by him anyway. So I was just hoping, God, you inspire me. And then outside of that, just looking at the music and listening to the lyrics and the stuff that was born from the project, I hear my own story, and I hear my own heartbreak and my own growth and all the things I know that I need God to help me let go of, so that I can just accept the fact that he's close to me. And that is a journey, So I felt like everything that we said, everything that we did in the songs, we were hoping to, this is the truth, and this is the truth, and this is the truth about who God says you are, about who God says he is, about what God says, and every one of those steps is a step closer to God, and just taking one brick out of the wall that we build around ourselves, that I think we feel separate from God because we feel so unworthy. We feel like we're shameful. We feel like we're, and it's true. We do screw up all the time, but God paid a huge sacrifice to erase all of that. And we just keep writing it back down on the board, and he keeps trying to erase it. And I think that's why we can't ever communicate with him, because we keep trying to write our sins on that board instead of being like, hey, God, what's up today? you know?
Absolutely.
And so I think that's what the big goal of the music was, how can we, and another thing that's cool is that we didn't write this album for Christian radio.
Yeah.
I can remember, like, this journey has been a super long journey, and at different parts it was like, okay, well, should we try to get a label to get behind it, to try to get more people to be able to hear all this
I remember you saying
stuff?
that. Right.
And they're like, and all these different conversations, and I'd be like, well, yeah, I talked to so-and-so. He says he's not sure. He doesn't think, he likes the song a lot, but he doesn't think it, it sounds like a radio single. And Rusty was like, yeah, that's because we didn't write these to try to fit onto the radio.
Right.
I was like, you're right. And I think so because of that, there was less of like, well, what's so-and-so doing? And, what's everybody adding on K-Love and all those things. And so we had less of those comparisons to make, I think, and more what we like to do, which is, what is good music? What is connecting with people? What's making people, feel like they can see themselves and hear themselves in this? What is making the message communicate? What is finding the heart and the connection with people to help them connect with something bigger than themselves?
Yeah, and Fireflight fans, of course, are not going to hear rock music on this. It might even be it's another step of chill, like from Innova, right? Like
Maybe so.
Yeah, like it's still kind of.
There's a lot of different sounds, I feel like, on the album overall. But I think most of all, I think with Fireflight music, the music itself is super intense and it brings intensity to the words,
That's right.
and
Yeah.
that's part of like the themes. And that's even how we write it. We have the music, we're like, oh, how does this make me feel? What is this
Yeah.
music trying to say? With this music, I feel like, well, with the worship songs, we started with, the heart. What is the message, and the words itself are meant to bring the intensity to the music without the music being the focal point so much, because at the end of the day, God was the pinnacle, it
Yeah.
was stripping down, getting to the heart, getting to, cutting through distraction, anything like that,
Right.
and so I think that's why the music, it is simpler, than the crazy intensity, scramble, all the stuff going on in Fireflight music, in that way. And it's intentional because in this case, the the idea was to get out of our own way and get out of our own heads and get into the space that is just vertical. And
So you keep saying our. So who's on your team for those who don't know?
oh, I guess Rusty Van he's the producer. He was one of the producers on Anova. He's been a huge just a champion for me. We got to know each other obviously when we were working on Anova, and
Yeah.
just really connected. And he, ever since we finished writing that stuff, he's like, I want to keep working together. I really believe in you and what you've got to say, and I want to keep helping you try to say it. And like when I first started thinking, I want to make a worship album, I went to Rusty and I said, Rusty, I think I want to make a worship album. He's like, let's find some investors, let's
Yeah.
do this. So he's a huge reason, that I'm here today with music to offer, with a musical offering,
Yeah.
because he believed in me and got behind
He
me
sort of pushed you
and
over the edge to make
yeah,
it
and put his
finally
talent
happen.
behind me and encouraged me and made me believe that I could do it.
Yeah.
And so I'm so thankful to him. And then also, we had it was mostly me and Rusty writing most of the songs, but also we had Tim Timmons come in and he
Yes.
helped to write I Surrender All, which is the first song that we've released.
My favorite.
And he's also featured as a vocalist. Chris McClarney came in for us for one day in the studio and we wrote a song with him. I really love that one too. I have been blessed to be able to work with Rusty and with a couple of other amazing artists as well. It's always cool to collaborate, and two heads is better than one, and iron sharpens iron and all that.
Yeah, absolutely. So talking about Tim Timmons and that song, what was that writing session like? What from your own life and heart that did you dredge up to come up with this awesome song of just like this release of this worship of surrender?
I think that I Surrender All, it really encapsulates the heart and the goals behind the whole album Surrender, which is why I chose to choose the name Surrender from the title of that track.
Yeah.
But it really, as I was talking about before, I think when we come into our worship sessions, we tend to bring so much baggage with us. And I know that everything in the world around us is always telling us we can't, and we'll fail. And it's just a lot of heaviness and burdens. And it's so easy to look at what we can see and say, you know what, there's not enough money. We're not going to make it. I'm sick. I'm not healthy. To see what we can see before us. And I don't even know, how do we push past that? It takes something bigger than ourselves. And
Yeah.
so in Surrender, it's really, like I said, a journey. We're trying to help people get step closer and closer, push down, let go of the things that they think that they know, and start to look and see the unseen and see the power behind the creator of the universe who is on our side. And
Mm-hmm.
so with Surrender, it really, the pictures, the word pictures in it, it starts with, when the waves are so tall that I can't see, and like here we are, we feel like we're drowning, we're in the ocean, that's the facts of it. But what about the fact that Jesus could walk on water? It's
Yeah.
something outside of our perception, outside of our reality. That is the thing that can allow us to quit relying on ourselves to solve the problem, to find a solution, to fix things, and realize that God exists outside of what we think is controlling us. And in that way, it's just, it's my life story, time and time and again, insurmountable problems. And then somehow God steps in and he carries me through. Maybe my circumstances change, maybe they don't, but he empowers me and he strengthens me. And I live to fight another day. And that's been, my heart's cry through all of Fireflight's music. But then especially through this worship album, another huge part of the Christian faith and the Christian life is remembering what God has already done.
Yeah.
God was always telling the Israelites, I want you to set up some stones and you're going to name it this. And you're going to remember that on this day you walked across the river on dry land. I part the sea. I want you to remember. And coming into remembrance of the things that God has done in the past in our own lives and the lives of others, it's one of the ways that we can survive, how we can build our faith and be able to accept, that God's reality is bigger than ours and what we can see. And so it has a lot of themes in it along those lines. And to me, when I'm singing it, like, help me to remember, and that's what I, even while I'm singing and I'm freaked out, hoping that I'm not going to, screw it up or fall the stage or that people are connecting. It's reinforcing it for my own mind. And I know, and I hope that that's what's going to happen for when they sing this music, that they're going to be having that experience too.
Have you heard much from feedback from people who've heard through the album? What are some things that are really encouraging you that you've been hearing?
Well, not many people have heard many of the songs. Just here and there. Marcus, you're blessed, but obviously, other than I Surrender All, people have been hearing that now. I've been getting a lot of positive feedback from that. But from close family and friends and stuff like who I've shared, because, only one song on the album is even mastered. Like, we're still in the process. That's why we're doing the Pledge Fund and all that stuff. But hearing rough mixes and stuff and listening to the things, I have, been getting feedback, like, these songs are awesome. It's really been helping me to... I've really been connecting with them and things like that. And that's always really encouraging because, you work really hard on something and you really hope that it's good, but you're not ever really quite sure.
and you have a pretty rad hymn interpretation on this too. Talk about that.
Yeah. So Rusty is this incredible producer and he has he can make magic, with his computer and stuff. Yeah. And we had this idea to do, an old hymn. And that's kind of a weird thing to do, I think, in a modern style. Really easy to screw it up really bad, I think. Yeah. Or just, overplayed and yada, yada.
Right.
So we did How Great Thou Art. But Rusty, freaking deconstructed it. And... made it into this Marvel Cinematic Movie trailer event. And I'm just
really. I first heard that and I was like, what?
Which is everything I want out of life.
Yeah. Man, it's minor and it's
it's
awesome.
Haunting. And it's one of my favorite, even though it's one of the covers. We did 7 originals and 3 covers. We were going to do half and half, but we were having so much fun writing that we decided to do 7 originals and 3 covers. But even though it's one of the 3 covers of the album, it's one of my favorites from the album, just because I dig it so hard.
Oh,
and so I can't wait for people to hear that one, and I can't wait for it to be, on whatever Infinity Gauntlet 3 or whatever.
Awesome. Well,
Marvel, can you hear me?
Yes, come on, Marvel. So Katie's asking the question that we all want to know, which is, when do people get to hear these songs? When is surrendered to the public?
Okay, so the Pledge Fund ends October 15th or something like that.
Okay.
And then we count our pennies. We reach our goal.
Yeah.
And then we start figuring out, okay, we got to get them all mastered, all this stuff, and start rolling it all through. So I'm hoping, hopefully by mid-November. There's so many hoops to jump through, you guys. I don't know how. I've been jumping through hoops for a year to get to this point. So hopefully, before the end of the year, and hopefully if we get, it just depends, how the funding goes. If we get the funding, if the pledge comes through, we can move forward and start crossing all the T's and dotting all the I's.
Yep.
That's the big goal, So that's why we're having a pledge fund, so that we can hopefully get this all accomplished and get it released in a way that as many people as possible will be able to hear it, and that hopefully the lives will be impacted, and they'll in a powerful way. So I just encourage her to tell people to go to the pledge fund.
Yes, so we can get this by Christmas, guys.
Give me $10.
And so you can consume the rest of Dawn's 2018 making stuff for you. That's
absolutely
crafting.
Yes.
Some more questions from people watching. My mom is watching. She has 2 questions. She wants to know, first of all, what's a confidence monitor?
Oh, this is a well-kept secret among praise and worship leaders. Okay, a confidence monitor is some fashion where, how you go to church and you're going to sing the praise and worship song, and you don't remember all 800 words of every song ever created, and now it's different 5 songs from last week. So you got the big screens, and they say the words, then sings my soul, my Savior, God to thee. Christian karaoke. And
it just needs a bouncing ball.
Yeah. So when you're the worship leader, hopefully you have some giftings and you're good at remembering words and all that stuff. But if you can imagine, you might have 5 new songs every weekend to learn, every week of the whole month. Yeah. That's you could, in theory, and you don't do this because you want people to have familiarity. Right. In theory, you could have who knows how many songs that you have to learn. What if there's a Wednesday night service? Lord help you.
I know. I'm in big trouble.
So anyhow, so it's so many words to remember that what they do is they have confidence monitors. And, sometimes they just have a music stand with printed out sheets of the words, just so they can be in case they forget for a second and they don't have to freak out. It helps you mostly with your confidence, because usually you have them all stuck in your head, but it's you're kind of freaked out, but what if I don't remember? And when you freak out about it, then you really don't remember.
Yeah, self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yes, exactly. So at this church specifically where I was working, we had really high-tech confidence monitors, so we didn't have to have music stands and turning the papers, and it would be screens. A lot of churches will have them on stage. It's kind of like a TV screen, and the words are on there, kind of like they are just up on the big screen.
See?
And then some churches, they have them back in the back, again, on the hanging on the walls, either on the back wall projected with a projector from when you were in high school, or on other monitors in the back. And it just gives you something that you can, check yourself and be confident. If what's that next word? Oh, that's it.
As long as the person running Pro Presenter is clicking along with you. If they're not, you might be in trouble. Yeah.
I cannot tell you. Oh my gosh. One time, thank God it wasn't me. But one time we were having this big worship service. It was actually a Christmas service. And one of the pastors, all the worship pastors from all the campuses were there. And everybody had a special song, and he got to sing a special song. And the confidence monitor started playing the words from a different song. And he knew his words, but then he saw that. And
but he went with it.
And it made him think, oh no, do I not know the words? And because and then he freaked and he lost all the words in his memory. And he just didn't know the words. And they just kept playing and he wasn't singing. And then they start again and they start again. And then we had to stop and start the service over again. And it was a train wreck. And that's what happens if the people running the confidence monitors aren't doing a good job. So everybody just really focus on your jobs.
Yeah, and memorize your words. That too.
And memorize your words, yeah.
And then, hang out, Mom. And of course, she always asks everybody, and I think she asked Fireflight, do you have a dog?
I don't have a dog, but my mom does, and she lives with me.
So you kind of have a dog.
Yeah, pretty much.
Sort of, yeah.
I still have to clean up piddles off the floor, so.
Yeah, see, then you're in the club.
I do have 2 cats.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, they're fun and also terrifying.
It's true, though. Some comments here. Shannon says, Dawn, you're such a blessing. Your heart for the Lord shines through in your voice and also in your love for others.
Thank you, Shannon. You're very nice.
And Rebecca is coming in from Trinidad, gospel promoter of the Music Festival, enjoying these live. Oh, awesome. Trinidad. Very cool.
Well, what, Trinidad?
I know. And, and that was, that was it. So, through October 15th-ish is the PledgeMusic We'll have to put a link down in there. We'll also, if you just go to Don Michelle's solo page, so if at Don Michelle, if you start typing that into Facebook, you'll find it. And then what happens when you pre-order? Do you get something right away? What happens?
Well, we do have a free download right now for I Surrender All. So that's something you can get for free immediately. When you do pledge, there's different levels of pledging. You can just pre-order and you'll get the digital download when it releases. Or did you hear my cat meowing?
Yeah.
That you can get a free kiss from my cat Panda. Just kidding.
Wow.
He's very shy. But it will be. So you can get the free download immediately, which is something you can have right now. But otherwise, we'll be waiting
November.
Probably around November for the release of the album. As soon as we finish the pledge fund, I'll get to order. I can order all the amounts of all the things that I have to hand paint.
Yeah.
And I will hand paint them with a great curiosity.
Yes.
And then get them shipped to you. And then we actually have an experience day where you can come and do Nashville with me and some other friends. Everybody who signs up, we're going to go ride around in a van together and do all the fun things in Nashville, eat all the good food. Most of the things have to do with food. My favorite
Absolutely.
kind of food.
It's so true in Nashville. Yeah.
Most of my life is about eating food.
Absolutely.
And so, but yeah, but for the people who do the experience thing, once we get everybody signed up, then we'll be like, okay, guys, what week is good for you? And then we'll kind of figure that out. So it all just kind of depends on how it falls at the end of the pledge fund.
Listen, everybody who's watching this, this album is amazing. I've heard it. I've been living with it for better part of a year. It is so good. And I'm serious. I've heard a lot of worship music, and I'm a worship leader. A lot of it's great. Not a lot of it gets me super excited. This does. It's so good. Anyway.
Thanks, Marcus.
I had to
nice of you to say.
Oscar.
Hola, Puerto Rico.
Puerto Rico. I was there last week.
I
was there last week.
You were? Well, that's nice.
I know. I was on a cruise.
I bet they were too. So.
Yeah, you were there too.
They're probably there this week. So.
Oh, that's sad. How can we all be praying for you right now?
Just pray for me that I'm just having faith right now for the pledge fund to be able to complete, and that we'll reach our goal and be able to, release the music. And that, God's going to be able to have his way with the whole project. And I just want God's will to be done. Yeah. And just pray for my heart to keep having faith, and just keep swimming,
Just keep swimming. Real quick, are you going to tour this? Are you going to?
I'd love to. Thoughts? I would love to go and do and lead worship all over. That would be a freaking dream come true. So it's all part of releasing the album and getting enough exposure around it so that we can get enough support to be able to have enough people knowing what's going on and wanting to have that happen. And we're working on a release show idea that I've got, maybe a co-release with a friend of mine named Dave Stovall. Coming this fall.
All right.
They'd be listening out for that.
Okay.
And so we're looking at doing that. They'll probably be in the Nashville area. But other than that, we'll be just looking for the opportunities as God brings them along. So
awesome.
Keep us in your thoughts.
Well, we're going to pray for you now. So those of you watching now, later, we're saying we're going to do it. Lord, thank you so much. Personally, Lord, I thank you for this record. I thank you for all that you've poured into Dawn and her family and her team over the years to make this come about. Thank you that these are songs of truth, songs that connect people to you, that truth that does set us free, the truth that gives us peace and joy and confidence. And so, Lord, I just pray for your blessing on this whole project, that people would come forward, that her already large group of people who support her would continue to grow, that community would be built, and that people would encounter these songs. So, Lord, we just ask for so many people to hear them, for so many people's lives to be changed as a result of encountering your truth, and that you would keep Dawn in a good place of trust and excitement and anticipation of what you're going to do. And we just thank you for that, Lord, and we pray all this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Yes, I am so excited. There's already You've got album art. You've got your PledgeMusic. You've got the song "I Surrender" all out there. So go find it. Get that first taste of what is to come. It is so good. That's seriously, I love that song. It's meant a lot to me, and I know it will to many other people too. So, do you have your own? Do you have a solo website? Is it donmichelle.com? What is it?
I do. It's donmichelleworship.com.
Ooh, Don Michele Worship.
It's Michelle with one L.
Of course.
Because when they sent back my birth certificate, they had misspelled it, and my mom just went with it. So just one L instead of two.
Is that? Are you serious?
That's for real.
Wow. I mean, I think it's very
French.
French.
Know how to spell it right.
I've seen it spelled that way
other people
before.
have two L's. I only have one. Yeah, it was an accident, and I always thought that she made the mistake. But actually, she told me this year, no, I put two L's on the certificate, and they sent it back with just one, and we're just like, that's fine.
Wow, I never knew that. I just assumed that's just a different way to spell Michelle. Your Duplo thing just failed you.
It's a thing of beauty, but it has its limitations.
that is a great story, Katie. Katie likes that story. I never heard that.
Katie.
All right. Well, you guys know what to do. Check that out, and we'll hopefully be talking to you again with like a tour news.
Yes, I want to do that.
Of fun
Can
things.
you see my thumbs?
They are up. All right. Well, thank you so much. You gotta do another musical project so we can find another way to get you on the show. So
I like that idea.
Keep coming up with maybe a duo with Dave Stovall.
Yeah, that's a great idea. He's like, "That's 5 minutes from me. I can totally do that. Like in 1 minute, I could do that."
All right, then we'll see you with your next project. But honestly, this is a really great thing, and it's a great expression. Like for people who already know what you're about and Fireflight and stuff like that. This is a great other side of that, and excited to hear people's reactions. It's gonna be awesome.
Me too. Thank you, Marcus, and thank you, CCM.
Right. Yes. All right. We'll see you later. God bless.
Have a great night.
Bye. All right, everyone. Don Michele, you know what to do. It is Don Michele, one L, as we learned, worship.com, and check out her music. It's really good. But it's great when we have artists who give you something to look forward to, right? Speaking of things to look forward to, tomorrow Jason Gray will be here. I'm not sure if he's bringing his special contributor on his latest record. We'll have to see. It might be a surprise. But Jason Gray will be here. Let some people know if you got some Jason Gray fans in the house. We'll be here at the same time, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. on the West Coast. And we'll see you then, all right? In the meantime, go to iTunes, and you can subscribe to the podcast. That is the audio version of this. And all of these video interviews are archived at ccmmagazine.com. All right, that's what I got. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye.